Warm welcome to the very first episode of our official Lyceum podcast, The Third Mic. We are extremely excited to begin this journey, and it feels extremely meaningful as well to start it with someone who has shaped the way we think about geopolitics and IR in general, the head of our department, Dr. Madhumati Deshpande. Ma'am, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me to this very momentous occasion.
We often think about geopolitics as something that is happening only on the high tables of diplomacy or wars. But the very phrase, bread to borders, reminds us that it seeps into the everyday lives of each and every one of us. So how can we academically make sense of this hidden geopolitics of our everyday life?
Okay, so I think there are two parts to your question. One is geopolitics at the high table, and one at the academic to daily life. So, is it high politics and not reaching the people, or is it academic and not the daily everyday thing? So, there are two parts to your question. To the first part, even though it is high table, and yes, the geopolitics as such happens between the leaders of the countries. The leaders are not making those decisions in vacuum. The leaders are doing it for the people. It's otherwise the understanding would be that the state has nothing in it. It has people in it. It has the population, and the decisions that the state makes are for that population. So it's not happening only at the high table, it is for the people that constitute that state. So it can be state or it can be non-state actor. Again, there can be different groups of decision makers that come together to make the decision. So how do we academically look at it? Whatever happens in the world is already understood through academics, and whatever happens in the world, the academics tries to understand it for the future prospects. So if something has happened today and it keeps happening not just in one country but multiple countries, how do we understand what is at the back of what is happening today? That becomes academic. When the events are happening across the world, people are not thinking this happened before, so I'm going to do it now. The events are happening as a consequence of a policy, as an issue. It could be anything. But how academics looks at it is, how do we understand the events that are individual in different countries, but at large have a similar principle or a similar issue at the back of it? So a flood here has nothing to do with a flood that is happening in some other country, but they are both could be both related to climate change. So there is an overarching issue that affects the geopolitics and the world, but it may be happening at the same time in different places in a completely detached manner. So the academics will try and understand how these individual events connect it to the larger world picture. That is how academically we look at global events or things that are happening in the world. And again, not everything is connected, but we can make an understanding of it through academics.
So now it's coming on to India. So that India is in a very fascinating position given being part of the Quad, SCO, hosting the G20, so and balancing the Russia and US. So what is the sustainable strategy for us for this multi-alignment?
Well, multi alignment is the only strategy right now. As you gave the examples, if India were to choose one group over the other, if we were to align with anybody from the beginning, from 1947 onwards, would we have had the freedom to choose? Multi alignment is the only way, because if we align with somebody, then we go with whatever they are telling us to do. We don't have a choice. If we want to maintain that choice, multi alignment is the only policy. And that's exactly why we are with so many different groups. Indian strategy was even before non-alignment, which meant that you don't align with anybody. Now that there are no blocks, there is no aligning with anybody anymore. So we will say, okay, we will align with anybody. So strategic autonomy, multi-alignment are all those which are of policy importance now. and have been, but it's just the nomenclature has changed. So from non-alignment to strategic autonomy to multi-alignment. It's the same strategy that we don't want to be told by anybody whom to align with. We want to have the choice to do it. And that's the only strategy right now in a world that is changing every day, in a world maybe that is becoming a little bit more isolationist, very much more independent, that's the only alignment that works. And you already know that there is no permanent friend or an enemy in international relations. So only multi-alignment works. According to me, that's the only way to do it.
When we talk about geopolitics, we often focus on superpowers such as America or Russia or, for say, USSR. What do you think about these middle countries such as Pakistan, Thailand, or Cambodia? What kind of balancing power do they play? And which side they tilt, how does it affect geopolitics as well?
Okay, so yes, it used to be that it was the story of the superpowers. It used to be that only they, I mean, victors are the writers of history, they are the ones who write history. But as we saw in the 1970s and 80s, as the other countries became more economically stronger, they became independent of these influence of the superpowers, they started exerting some sort of an influence in the world politics as well. And in today's world, it is not just the military that makes an importance or makes a change in the international relations. It's also the economy, it's also the kind of population you have, it's also the non-state actors that will determine what your place in the world is. So when you say middle powers, I wouldn't call them middle powers at all. Pakistan, Thailand are not middle powers as far as I can see. But there are other middle powers like India who, rising powers, you can call them rising powers, you can call them middle powers. They have not become superpowers yet, but they have sway over certain groups of countries and they will have that say. But it depends on how much of an influence they have with the superpowers. Again, the recent example is the best example. The tariffs were imposed on India. And so what did India do? It didn't cave into the pressure. India decided, okay, we'll go, if you don't want to give us anything, we'll open markets elsewhere. Okay, we'll start exporting elsewhere. So we ended up making, China our friend now, which until last month was our sworn enemy. But now we will go with China. Now we will go, of course, Russia has always been there. So we'll go with Russia. We'll go wherever the market is available. So it all again comes back to what is our national interest? So, and how do we influence other countries because we want to fulfill our national interest? So even though the superpower period is almost, again, I can't say completely over because we never know in 2 months' time there is another superpower rivalry that come up. But it's not just about superpowers anymore because global order has changed to a certain extent, which means that other powers also will have a say in what happens in the world. And those other powers will determine how it happens. They will have some sway over what the superpowers do as well.
From WhatsApp forwards to TikTok bans, the digital sites has become spaces for geopolitical contestations. So from your viewpoint, how did this digital realm has transformed our understanding of power and borders as of today?
Social media has had a great impact on international relations, not because everybody is aware of what is happening around the world, mainly because, as you mentioned, there are no borders anymore. You don't know where the information that you generate here will end up going or how it will cross across the border. We don't know how the people from other countries will take this information that we may have produced and use it elsewhere. So information has no barrier anymore. And that has had an influence on international relations because anything that happens in the world becomes accessible to anybody in the world of course, as long as their national borders are open for TikTok and WhatsApp and internet and Google, they will get to know. And there are countries who will not allow that to happen. So though they may not be aware of what is happening in the world, but it becomes easy for everybody to be aware of what is happening in the world if, again, if they're paying attention to the international geopolitics or international relations. Not everybody understands, not everybody is exposed, but whatever percentage, I mean, especially the percentage that is interested in international relations, that can speak the language where the information is shared, are aware of things that are happening around the world. And that influences, because then there is a global community that has evolved. And global community existed even before, but it used to be confined to movements that crossed the border, movements that took up the attention of everybody in the world. It's easy to get that attention now. So the movements like Me Too movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, they spread across much faster. It didn't take them long enough. Apartheid, in our own generation time, apartheid took a long time for everybody to get to know, because it used to be through TV, through documentaries, maybe newspapers and all of that. There was no social media. If social media were to be there, it probably would have spread much faster. Same with Arab Spring. Because of social media, it spread faster. Arab Spring spread across the region very fast. Not social media, but Facebook, Twitter, that kind of social media. I don't know what would have happened if it was WhatsApp or other TikTok or other things. On the flip side, it is also spreading fake messages, fake news. And so people get very afraid of what the world is coming to, because you may see a disaster in a couple of countries and you may think that the whole world is going through this. And so fake news also spreads the similar way, not just regular news, but fake news also. So in a way, it does impact, because more number of people are now getting involved in international relations, which didn't happen earlier. Now that somebody else is doing it, you may become a copycat and you may start doing the same thing. So it's easier for ideas and ideologies and values to spread much more than before. So it will have a certain impact. How we take it is up to us. Whether it is fake or whether it is real, it is up to the people to decide.
Just a follow-up question on social media. Like about the end of Trump's first term, many big tech companies have actually banned him because of a lot of false fake news narrative which was spread. What role do you see as these tech companies playing in geopolitics?
See, all companies, whether it is tech or automobile or any other big companies, right now it is the tech companies that are big. Any company wants profit. They are profit motivated. So they will not do anything that is going to harm their profit margin at all. So they will always do things that will increase that profit margin. And they will always do to promote their company over anybody else. So it's not that, if an American company is doing well, it doesn't mean that Trump has asked them to do it or Trump is using that company. Companies in the United States don't work under the government. They are independent, which may not be the same here in India. So tech companies, when they are doing well, it doesn't mean that America is going to do well. There are tech companies in Japan that are doing way better than American companies, but they are limited to certain technology. They will not go beyond it. So they may not be marketing as well as the Americans are doing. So it's not, unless the tech companies are getting some profit, they are not going to be interested in geopolitics. They will do only as much as the profit is important. They may not get into politics. Again, Elon Musk is an aberration, and even Trump is an aberration. And maybe there are other businessmen who will come into this, but the companies are not going to make money out of this. Tesla lost a lot of money when Elon Musk entered government. So it's their profit, their motive that will impact the geopolitics, not the other way around. Of course, they will not impact the geopolitics. It's how the geopolitics impacts the technology, or how technology impacts geopolitics. That's what, not companies. It won't be companies. Companies will benefit from whatever happens in geopolitics.
The academic approach. How is it different from government and media approach in geopolitics?
Okay, I have to, the three. Okay, so government, media, and academics. All three are different. All three have a purpose. All three look at any event very differently. What media has to do is to report on what is happening right now. They may go to the depth of it, they may go to the reason behind it, but it will be for reporting on what is happening today. The government will have to look at an event as to how their population, territory, or their government will be affected by whatever event that is happening. And academics will look at an event as to the broader picture of it. Is it an individual event, or does it connect to anything else that has happened before? How do we understand it? How do we understand that event? Do we understand it individually as it stands, or do we understand it in the scope of a broader thing that happens in geopolitics or international relations? Is it a part of that? Again, the objective of understanding is also different for all three. Academics will try to understand it so that they can probably speculate that this is how the country is going to react, or this is what is going to happen next. The government will have to plan for what may happen, and the media house will be doing it to spread the news for whatever reason it may be. It may be the warning, it may be just news that needs to be brought to the fore, or it could be that they are also tracing an event that is happening across the world, and this is one of them. So each of them have a different objective. Each of them have a different outlook as to how they respond to it. Each of them, of course, will respond to it differently. Academics are the ones who will take a laid back approach to it, or maybe they will say, okay, let's spread this news so more number of people will know about it and more number of people may participate in changing it. News, of course, will have to spread the news. That is why media will be there and to enlighten people about what has happened. The government will have to take a policy action if something is needed. So they will have to look at it. The government will get probably will get some input from the academics, from the public, from the media, and then respond to whatever is happening. So all three will have a different approach to looking at it, different way of resolving it.
Now that we're talking about academia, so we've seen that governments across the globe they're manipulating the textbooks to suit their ideology. So I just want to know, you as an academician, what you feel that what should be the role of ideology in making a curricula? And what I really want to know is, can textbooks really be neutral?
To say that I'm not teaching in a primary or high school, I'm very happy. That textbooks, we don't use textbooks at the higher education institutions, because at the level of undergraduate level or at the PG level, you have to have more reading than a textbook, and a textbook is not going to suffice anybody's depth of knowledge. So I'm sure you realize after coming from schools, when you come into the college, you realize that it suddenly opens up. There are so much to read, there are so many things to read. It's because there is no prescribed textbook at this level.
Imagine we are in 2035, and how do you see the world will be? Will it be more fragmented, multipolar, or more interconnected?
Fragmented, multipolar, interconnected. I would say interconnected, multipolar, not so fragmented, as in since globalization started in the world, countries have been connected. And there was a time during the pandemic when, or even before the pandemic, there was a call for deglobalization, that countries are becoming independent, isolationist. So there is a phase of deglobalization that is happening, and pandemic pushed it. And then there was a lot of independence for different countries. But ever since the pandemic got over, there is the term reglobalization that has come in, that all countries now want to go back to the previous era of globalization because everybody has realized that they can't live independently, completely isolated in the connected economy that we have. So in 10 years' time, I don't think it's going to break up that much that, it becomes fragmented. It will be interconnected, but multipolar. So there is no hegemonic rule by anybody because all countries are becoming a lot more prosperous than they were before and are becoming interconnected. So my prediction would be multipolar, interconnected world rather than fragmented.
Now, if you rethink geopolitics academically, what do you think? What kind of future research, governance, or education this might open up?
Geopolitics has always provided the aspect of understanding different countries. And because of the interconnectedness that is coming up, it's much more relevant to understand countries. And the only subject that does it is geopolitics and international relations. That yes, you have to understand your own country, but you also have to understand how other countries behave and what other countries want or need. Otherwise, how will you deal with them? How do you cooperate with them? How do you collaborate with them? That becomes harder. So geopolitics, international relations is about understanding all the countries in the world, trying to understand how each of them operate so that we can connect with them in this interconnected world. So the jobs of, of course, teaching profession is always there, teaching and understanding other countries, diplomacy is the other one, but not just at the highest level, but also at the lower people to people level. How do you connect with other countries? How do you even just the travel agency or traveling from one country to another, that itself can create so many jobs. And there is trade, there is social connects, there is education, there is all other service industries that come into the picture with the trade and everything else that happens. That all those are the possibilities of the understanding research and job opportunities are created because of that. Of course, government level jobs are always there. Government level, if you want to be a diplomat representing a country, the government jobs are there. International non-governmental agencies, NGOs, like the UN and other regional organizations, they also need research to be done on their own region in the world. And there are issues that are coming up, global issues that are coming up. Research in those areas also become important. And they also get you jobs in think tanks and in INGOs and the non-governmental agencies that deal with international relations all become important. And those are the places where students can get a job in geopolitics or international relations. Conflict resolution is another area, negotiation, conflict resolution. Those are other areas that have a lot of job and research opportunities.
What advice do you want to give to us who want to move beyond passively consuming news and actually shape conversations around global politics?
Students of international relations or international studies or geopolitics, you know the background for any story that is happening internationally. And that makes you a better interpreter of the news rather than a simple consumption of the news. So you do speak up. You have to speak up when there is fake news or when there is news that is misunderstood. You have to speak up and you have to correct them. There is no other alternative to it. And you are also the ones who understand that global movements can start and can lead to global solutions to the problems. Okay, so either Malala or that Norwegian girl, I forget her name, the Greta Thunberg, they didn't stop to say that I'm only from this country, I will do whatever is required for my country. They were the voices. And it's not academia. They are younger, but they took up a cause that has international repercussions. And so it's easy for you to do that. You don't have to just consume and say, why am I bothered? I don't care. That's not your response. Your response can be, what can I do? And how much further can I go? And that's easy for you to decide whether you want to do that or whether you want to just consume what is given to you and say nothing about it. That's up to you. And you can do it. I'm sure social media will help you. I'm sure your groups of friends will help you. So that's something you can always do.
This was a podcast, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And I hope you do a lot more of these later.
Thank you.